Let's take you to Washington, where FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker is giving an update on their work with Boeing to hold them accountable for safety issues.
Importantly, we capped production of the 737 MAX until these issues are resolved. Today, in response to our request in February, Boeing provided us their roadmap for continuous improvement. We just wrapped up a 3-hour meeting to review it and talk about future implementation. We underscored that they must follow through on implementing corrective actions and transform their safety culture. This is a guide for a new way for Boeing to do business. The FAA will make sure that Boeing makes lasting changes using all the tools at their disposal. I made it clear to Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun and other senior leaders that this plan does not mark the end of our increased oversight of Boeing and its suppliers, but the beginning of the next chapter. We will not approve production increases beyond the current cap until we're satisfied. Bottom line, we will continue to make sure every airplane that comes off the line is safe and reliable, regardless of how many planes Boeing builds. We need to see a strong and unwavering commitment to safety and quality that endures over time. This is about systemic change, and there's a lot of work to be done. Our goal is to make sure that Boeing makes the necessary changes and has the right tools in place to sustain those changes. Boeing has laid out their roadmap, and now they need to execute. First and foremost, Boeing is now required to have a mandatory safety management system, which will ensure a structured, repeatable, systematic approach to identify hazards and manage risk. They have also committed to increasing employee training and communication, strengthening the anonymous reporting system that employees can use without fear of reprisal, boosting supplier oversight, making sure that things happen in the right sequence at every step of production, and getting more input from users of the system, including pilots. The FAA will provide oversight at every step of the way in this process. We certify every 737 MAX before it can be put into service, and we will continue to do so. We will also provide enhanced oversight of Boeing and its suppliers. Practically speaking, this means more safety inspectors in the Boeing and Spirit facilities, more feedback from company employees to gauge the effectiveness of change, additional inspections at critical points of the production process, and monitoring metrics to identify areas of concern. Safety is a team sport. Everyone has a role to play. Boeing must do their part, and we will be there to make sure they do that. I appreciate you being here today, and I'm happy to answer some questions.
Okay.
Bless you.
Can you say why this plan is not being publicized by either you or Boeing? Is it for proprietary reasons? I mean, it does have safety implications.
It's my understanding that Boeing is going to publish details about the plan and make those available. Yeah.
But you will not.
Yeah, it's their plan. It's proprietary. We have our own plan to oversee their plan, but it's their plan. So I think they should talk to that.
Can you talk a little bit, or Alison Birchfield from Bloomberg News, can you talk a little bit more about next steps? You mentioned that they won't be able to increase beyond the current production cap until you're satisfied. What does that look like? What changes do they need to make to be able to increase rates? And then also, is there a goal or like a timeline for when that might be possible?
So there's no goal, there's no timeline. What this plan does is it includes a series of initiatives, programs for change management throughout the company. And it also includes 6 very distinctive key performance metrics that we'll be able to monitor in real time. So those 6 KPIs, as they're referred to, are really our dashboard to see how they're doing from a safety perspective. So we'll have a number of things in addition to those KPIs. We can also look at culture surveys, and we'll have, of course, boots on the ground at the factory. So we'll have a real-time ability to monitor how they're doing.
Pete?
Hi, Pete.
I think that the flying public comes up to me a lot and asks, are Boeing airplanes safe? I'm sure they ask you the same thing. So how should the flying public feel about this announcement? And how do you feel about it?
I think the flying public should feel that we're increasing our oversight to an appropriate level with Boeing. We certify each aircraft right now coming out off of the line. So we're ensuring that those airplanes are safe. We've increased our oversight. And Boeing, on its own, has reduced capacity or production levels to make sure that they've got the resources they need. Going forward, what we're looking at is making sure they've built really robust quality management systems and safety management systems, that they're taking feedback from employees, and that the metrics that are telling us are there mistakes being made, how they're managing those mistakes, are telling us that the aircraft are safe. So I think these are good steps that'll get us where we need to be.
It does seem like a simple thing to just be able to build the airplanes right for the bolts in. So, I mean, do you feel like this is enough to make it so that they can do the basic job of building airplanes the right way?
Well, I don't know that I would characterize it as simple, building an airplane, but the quality management system has to be robust. The training of employees has to be sufficient. And this plan is comprehensive. It takes on all those aspects. And we're just going to monitor the implementation to make sure it's effective.
Mark?
Mark Walker from the New York Times.
Mark?
What were some of the key parts of this plan, the things you wanted to see in this plan to be satisfied and confident that, with the implementation of this plan, Boeing will be headed in the right direction?
So implementation is the key word. And that's really the hard part. What we were looking for was a plan that's comprehensive, that's detailed, and that deals with the things we know need to be addressed, like quality management, a more robust safety management system, an environment where employees feel that they can speak up and raise safety issues, and better manufacturing processes. And those are all elements of the plan.
David?
Dave Sherwood from Reuters. Two questions. First, I want to drill down a bit more on what exactly Boeing has to do to get the authority back to increase production. Did you lay out specific metrics they have to meet, and what exactly are those? And secondly, I want to ask you about the 787 and this fake test apparently, and sort of what the FAA's assessment is of that, and if there's any broader issues about the 87 or testing in general, whether Boeing's producing accurate results.
So the records question, I won't be able to comment on. It's under investigation. I will say that these steps are not just about the MAX. They're about all production for Boeing commercial aircraft. So these changes in quality management and safety management will be throughout the entire commercial scheme. And your first question was about production levels?
What do they have to do specifically to get the authority back to increase production?
So these metrics will provide us a way to monitor their health over the coming months. They're producing at a level lower than the cap. So we will watch these metrics and work with them over time to understand how these changes to the safety management system and the quality management system are progressing. And with these KPIs, we will use that as a dashboard to give us a fundamental picture of whether they're in the right zone. So if you think about your car instruments telling you if your water temperature is in the right zone, we want to see the right zone across the line to make sure that the system is actually running safely as it should.
So, but you said months, so you're not anticipating restoring that authority for months at least?
Well, we don't have a time frame, but I don't think it'll happen in the next few months. So.
Hi.
Hi, Emily with Oxford. Thank you for your time. So on the issue of safety, just curious, not necessarily with Boeing, have you been briefed about that in your collision at BCA, the second one about 6 issues?
I am familiar with it. I've had a briefing, and we're looking into that, and we will thoroughly investigate that.
Just curious, do you have any thoughts on something saying it's an overcapacity issue of the airport?
It's the same capacity that it's been for quite a while, but having said that, we're going to look at all the causal factors that might be involved. Thanks.
From NPR. At some point, you had raised third-party oversight of Boeing as a possibility, but I don't see anything about that here today. Why not? Why have you moved away from that idea?
Well, we haven't necessarily moved away from it. What we did is we commissioned the MITRE Corporation to do a study on delegation of authority and the role of third-party oversight. And we're actually expecting the results of that study very soon as next week. And then we'll factor that into this bigger picture about how to ensure quality in the manufacture process.
Lori, our attorney in the Washington Post, you mentioned that the FAA is certifying the aircraft as they come down the line. the FAA certified the MAX that had the door plug blow up. So have you made any changes to that process to ensure the planes, nothing's going to fall off the plane?
We've made quite a few changes since that January 5th incident.
We have been listening to FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker give us an update on its efforts to hold Boeing accountable for safety issues after that door panel in January blew off that Spirit Airlines flight, and Boeing the FAA gave Boeing 90 days to come up with a safety plan. Today, Administrator Whitaker is saying this doesn't mean the end of their oversight, that essentially they're not going to lift that production cap until they're satisfied. They're looking for more input from everybody, including pilots, since these safety issues, more supplier oversight. But in the specifics of the plan, they say they're going to let Boeing release that.
Yeah, and on that, Boeing has committed to a number of improvements that they are going to make. The FAA is, of course, going to have oversight over all of these changes. We heard Whitaker say that ensuring quality in the manufacturing process is a primary goal. And Boeing is going to, in fact, make their plan available to the public because so many people have been concerned about those safety issues that have been revealed.